So true. There ain't no other for me. It's only you. I wanna be down with what you're going through. I wanna be down. I wanna be down with you.
Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Derica and you're watching Shelf Love with D. Welcome back to another weekly wrap up of my reads and streams. And y'all already know, before we jump into this wrap up, let's go ahead and take attendance. Let me know that you are here today by liking, subscribing, commenting. I love sunflowers, so you can leave me a sunflower. My favorite color is green, so leave a green heart or any emoji of your liking, just to let me know that you hung out with me today and that you were present. So I appreciate you in advance. Thank you so much for doing that. Let's get into this wrap up. Y'all, I don't know why it feels like it's been so long since I've been on this camera, since I talked to y'all, but I have missed y'all. As y'all know, for the past couple of weeks, your girl has been going through it physically. Like, AGE is no joke on top of PMS. Like, if you know, you know. And I would not trade being a woman, but in that same breath, in that same thought, I would say it's hard being a woman. It is hard, and men do not know how easy they have it. Like, the things that we go through in a month, oh my gosh. So if you're a man out here and you have a wife, a woman, a girlfriend, whatever, and she's good to you, thank the Lord every day, because between what we go through physically, mentally, emotionally in a month, it's a wonder that we can accomplish anything. So if you know, you know. All right, so back to books. Y'all, I had a somewhat good, pretty decent reading week. I started to feel like I'm getting back in the groove of things. I do think that finishing one book, I think actually helped with that. Surprisingly, once I finished that last page of that book, I was like ready for the next one. And I think what was happening was that I actually was like not really enjoying that book. But because it was a buddy read, I wanted to see it through. But it was just not giving me that feeling of wanting to pick it up. So the dread, on top of what I was already experiencing physically due to Aunt Flo's visit, was just having me just not want to pick up no books, not want to read or anything. So I'm done with that book. We are done with it. We are both happy to be done with it and looking forward to starting our next buddy read. So with that being said, let's get into these books. Let me let y'all know what I have read this past week. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I had to get logged into my Goodreads. For some reason, I thought I had 3 books to talk to y'all about, but I think it's because I'm almost done with one. So I actually have 2 books that I read this past week that I can't wait to share with you guys. So as y'all know, Darnea, Derice, and I started Tumbling. It was a buddy read together. I'm not going to discuss the star rating because it was not a 5-star for me. So I won't be sharing my rating with you guys. And I'm starting to wonder, and I'm getting distracted, but it's been so long since we talked, girl. I missed y'all. I'm starting to wonder that if it is not a 5 or 4-star for me, if I'm even going to put a star rating on it on Goodreads. I may just leave my thoughts so that if I wonder in the future, you know, if I would reread a book or why I didn't like it, my why. But I'm thinking going forward, I'm deciding this as I tell y'all, that I'm not going to even put a star rating on Goodreads if I didn't enjoy it to the extent of it being a 4 to 5-star. Yeah, but I will share my thoughts for future me. All right. Anyways, and back to Tumbling. So y'all, as I stated, this book was a buddy read. We did not enjoy this read. I know. I'm sorry to all the Diane McKinney Whetstone fans. This book was not it. So the cover is giving, you know, jazz, clubs, dancing, laughter, all the things. And the main character, or one of the main characters, she was a jazz singer. Yes, Ethel. She was a jazz singer. So I just expected more energy from this book. I expected more liveliness. I expected some meat, some goodness in this book. This book literally was just reading somebody's journal, where at the end of the night, they just sit down and kind of talk about their week or their day. And so we were just going through their day-to-day life, as if I put a camera on the walls of your house and I just saw how you did day-to-day life, how you managed your kids, how you handled day-to-day struggles, how you and your husband got along or didn't get along. It was just a lot of life happening in this book, but without a point, without a focal point. Let me read it for the girlies who were not present when I read the book description, but it says here, so this book centers around Herbie and Noon. They are a loving but unconventional couple whose marriage remains unconsummated for years as Noon struggles to repossess her sexuality after a brutal attack in her past. While she seeks salvation in the church, Herbie gains sexual gratification in the arms of a bewitching jazz singer named Ethel, a woman who profoundly affects both Noon and Herbie's lives when she leaves with them, first a baby girl and then later a 5-year-old little girl named Liz. When a road planned by the city council threatens to break up the South Philadelphia neighborhood, the community must band together. Unexpectedly, Noon rises to the occasion, takes on the opposition, fighting with all she's got for the whole community. Says Tumbly is a beautifully rendered, poignant story about the ties that bind us and the secrets that keep us apart. With striking lyricism, Diane McKinney Whetstone keenly guides us through the world of community, family, and human heart. Okay, so with that being said, the premise itself, the book description itself didn't just sound like super exciting, but I still expected greatness to be in this. Lex Reads recommended this book. Diane McKinney herself is a great author. And I know that she has some good books. She has some other ones out there that I want to read. I think it's Leaving Cecil Street is by her. What else she got? Is Lazzarato by her? I want to say Lazzarato, Tempest Rising, other blues dancing. A lot of books that are on my TBR, a lot of books that my favored booktubers have read and highly recommended. So I just expected, to just be wowed by this story. I will say that Diane, she's a good storyteller. So the storytelling was done well. It was done beautifully. At times, it was almost poetic in the way that she described things. She's a great imagery creator in your head. Like the way she describes things, you can feel it, you can smell it, you can sense it. It's beautiful. But sometimes she did go on and on a little bit, sometimes with describing too much. Also, there was just no point to the story. A lot of things are implied in this book. She doesn't give you concrete answers as to what happened. Even with Noon, it says that there's a brutal attack, but we never fully find out what that attack was. Like they say, like the devil took her and, she was attacked and stole her woman or scraped out her inside, like not scraped out her insides, scraped out her womanhood, or just they describe it in that way where you're like, what actually happened? Was she, what did they just assault her? What is it that happened to her that caused her for many years, even being 20 years married, to not be able to give herself in that way to her husband? So there's just a lot of things that are implied. Even, there's certain situations where at one point I thought the husband had cheated, but the way she worded it, it was like, what's his name? Herbie, the girls got into a fight, and so Herbie walked one of the daughters home and talked to the mom about what happened, and to keep her from calling the police, it was like he had to allow her passion. And so she's like pushing up against him on the wall, and he's like, no, whatever her name is. And then it abruptly ends, and I'm like, wait, so he had to allow her passion? What does that mean? Did they mess around? Did they, what? So sometimes the writing was too beautiful, too poetic, too lyrical, and not enough, concrete answers or what was going on. And one of the characters in the story, she has I don't want to tell you if you're going to read it, but she has an issue of how she copes with anxiety. And we find this out very early on in the book, and it is talked about throughout the entire course of the book. And eventually somebody else finds out about it, and it's a secret between that person and the other person. So now two people know. But then once it is revealed to like people of importance, it's like, oh, okay, we'll figure this out. And then that's the end of it. Like, it was such a big deal in this book. It affected so many things, and it was brought up in so many times, and it was even having some effects on this person physically, to where when people find out, it's like, oh, we're gonna fix this, me, you, and Jesus. You know, it was, I don't know, and even in the end, how it ended, it was like, I felt like the entire book was this build up. My bad, y'all, if I'm yelling. I feel like I'm yelling. But I feel like there was this entire build up, and you're like, ooh, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. And then all these things start being revealed, and it's just like flat. Like even the biggest secret of all, about the girls, or about one of the girls, it's like fell flat. Like, how? And they even pointed out at times about like Noon and her temper, or like, you know, she know how to turn that on type thing, you know, like she ain't a fighter, but she, you know, if she's taking there, she will. And then when she finds out, it was like, oh, okay. Like, and one thing that, you know, me and Darnielle was talking about is like, what was I supposed to get from this book? What was I supposed to take away from this story? What was it supposed to mean to me? What was the point of any of it? Like, there was no conclusion. There was no everything coming together, and then you got all the answers. There were several things. Just about every issue in the book, by the end of the book, was unanswered. Like, no closure. And that would have been okay if this was meant to be like a series and there's a book 2 out there. But this book was written so long ago. This is it. So I did not enjoy this book. And it's yet another book that had like high ratings. I think the overall rating on Goodreads was like 4.5 or 4 some change. Yeah, 4.25 stars. I've heard good things about this book. You know, there's a lot of comments in this on Goodreads about how great this book is. And once again, I am left hitting my head against the wall, staring at the ceiling like, what did I miss? What did I miss? But what I was so happy about this time was that I was reading it with somebody else, so they could let me know, you know, confirm it's not just you, girl. It's the book. It's the book. And when I tell y'all, we drug this book out through the whole month of March. Like, and I'm so glad that we both were okay with that. It was just like, she had got a little ahead of me in the very beginning. I got caught up, and then after that we were just like, girl, read 2 chapters and we talk about it. But there was no rush to finish this, but at the same time we were ready to be done with it, because it just didn't give me any feelings. I didn't really care too much about any other characters. If I had to pick a character that I liked, it would have been Fanny, just because she was very loyal, very respectful, very in your face, like not in your face, but like just straightforward, you know. And I loved that about her. But what's her name, Liz, ungrateful, not loyal, smart mouth, disrespectful, didn't like her. Herbie, as a husband, they didn't even really give us any meat on the dynamic of their relationship. Like, in the very beginning, they stated like, you know, Herbie was very, you know, he was a good man, like gentleman type thing, and he was patient with Noon and her issue and her not wanting to consummate the marriage. But 20 years that he was married to her, and she wouldn't let this man hold her hand. She wouldn't let this man wrap his arm around her waist for 20 years. Again, I do not condone cheating. But 20 years, boo-boo. Like, what man is not going to step out? You know what I'm saying? He tried to do it as respectfully as possible, like around people that she wouldn't run into. I know cheating is cheating. I'm just saying, y'all, think about it. Think about it. If you married somebody, and yes, he went in knowing she had an issue, but I think he thought, you know, after a little wooing, after he married her, after, you know, he showed her that he loved her and he was there and all that, like for the long haul, that, you know, she'd be wooed, she'd be stirred, but she had them gates locked, clink clink, with nobody getting the key. And then I think eventually toward the end, he started like really getting frustrated and he got a little more vocal about it. But what another thing that me and Darnaya talked about was that it didn't seem like she wanted to be fixed. She was really big on prayer and like God healing her. And I'm all for it. I'm a Christian myself. I'm all for it. I do believe in God's healing power and things like that. But I do also think that we have to make an initiative to seek our healing or whatever it is that we need, whether it is physical healing, emotional healing, or whatever. I don't believe, you know, even when it's like, oh, well, she didn't have an example of how to be a wife, or he didn't have an example of how to be a husband or father. Seek it, find it, go get the answers that you need. Don't just sit there and wait for God to move. You know, we have to step out in faith. So even with her being a very firm believer in God, she was just like, for 20 years, I'm like, at this point, girl, I think God is telling you, girl, go get that medical help, you know, whether through therapy or medicine, whatever it is. I'm sure God would be okay with it. That's why we have these people. But yeah, she just was not taking any initiative in her own healing. And to me personally, she wasn't even thinking about how that was affecting her marriage or her be. Like, this man was being very patient, and you know, he would try to just hold her hand and she'd pull away, or he tried to like put his arm around her and she'd tense up, you know, like there was no passion. There was nothing that was like, you were rejecting this man time after time, even just like through you know, normal PDA of just like I said, holding the hand and wrapping his arms around you, coming up behind you. She was just rejecting him every turn of the way. So I just was, y'all, this just wasn't it. This just wasn't it. But as y'all know, I do have Leaving Cecil Street, and I want to read Tempest Rising. I want to read those before I decide whether or not this author just may not be my cup of tea. Y'all, Lex reads, as y'all know if you follow her, she loves this author. She is an auto buy for her, and she speaks highly of her. So I don't want to give up just yet. I am interested, like I said, in reading Leaving Cecil Street, Lazzarato, possibly Blues Dancing before I draw that conclusion. And I may just do an author taste test altogether to decide that. So let's move on to the next, because I went on a tangent with that one and I didn't want to make this video very long. Let's see here. All right, so the next book up that I read was book 2. Well, no, I guess it's book 1. It's Ethic, book 1. As y'all know, I read A Moth to a Flame, which is the book that the author recommends you reading before jumping to the Ethic series. She also recommends, I guess lightly recommends that you read the Prada series and something else, but it's not required. But before you get into the Ethic series, but I read book 1, Ethic, and I am committed to this series. I'm not sure how many books are in the Ethic series, but as of right now, I'm committed to seeing it through. As y'all know, I have learned that I am real particular these days of my urban fiction, but Ashley Antoinette is definitely one of my urban fiction authors that I enjoy. Of course, Sister Soldier is going to always be one as well, because she's just that girl for me. She's she's the first author that I read of urban fiction, as well as Nikki Turner. So the OGs, they're going to always be my go-tos. But Ashley Antoinette is one of like the newer authors of urban fiction who I enjoy personally. So let's see. Ethic. 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it looks like there's 6 books in the Ethic book series, so I would definitely be seeing that through. Really enjoyed that. I have decided with these series, especially, I have decided with, for now, just for urban fiction books, if it's a series, I am going to judge the series as a whole, because these books often end on cliffhangers, and you're getting like sections of the story. I don't think it's really fair to give it a star rating based on that section, and I would rather rate the book as a whole, rate the series as a whole. And I think for me, that just feels a bit more fair, being that, like I said, when it's a long drawn out series, you're getting bits and pieces of the story. So I may not really enjoy the middle, or I may not enjoy, the second book, because it was like, the first book was introduction to everything, and this book is like, okay, where they're at now, and then, but whatever. So I was just like, I'm gonna rate the series as a whole, going forward when it comes to these urban fiction books that are of a series. With that being said, I did enjoy Ethic. I did not enjoy it as much as A Moth to a Flame. A Moth to a Flame, that book right there was just giving me the feels that I remember feeling with The Coldest Winter Ever and Hustler's Wife. Y'all know my go-to urban fiction books that I always name. So y'all should know, if you have not read The Coldest Winter Ever, if you have not read A Hustler's Wife, if you have not read Riding Dirty on I-95, which that book and Hustler's Wife both have book 2s as well, go ahead and read it. Like, I'm going to reread those because I haven't read them as an adult. But I remember thoroughly enjoying them. I did read Coldest Winter Ever as an adult. I actually listened to that on audio a couple of years ago with my husband, and we enjoyed it, and I ended up moving on to the Midnight series, but I have not finished that yet. So back to Ethic. Ashley Antoinette is that urban fiction girl for me. I know y'all crown Jacquel J, and she's cool and all, but my urban fiction queen of new day urban fiction authors for now, or as of now, is Ashley Antoinette. I enjoyed this book. I don't think we got a lot of Ethic. The things that made everybody, like, she said she wrote this series for all the girlies who fell in love with Ethic and A Moth to a Flame. But we didn't get a lot of who makes Ethic in book 1 like we did in A Moth to a Flame. So that's part of the reason why I am committed to this series, to see in book 2 if it gets better and if Ethic gets to shine. In this book, it continues after Raven has, she's died, but she had a baby with Ethic. So he's raising that baby along with Raven's sister, and he has a little girl of his own as well. And so he is going through trying to mature, trying to learn to, leave the streets alone and go all the way legit. But he's still messing in the streets a little bit, but he is, for the most part, having his hands clean. And so he's just trying to juggle, Morgan, who is Raven's sister, she's deaf. And so she is, frustrated with that because the people in the hood, they, regarding that, they are not so nice, and she feels left out. So she starts kind of like wilding out, trying to do things to get attention. So he's just so this book was really just focused on him raising them and going through the things that you can go through sometimes when you have girls. And his son, they named Ezra, which is Ethic's real name. They call him Easy. I thought that was a cute little nickname. But yeah, so this book pretty much focuses on their new norm, which is Ethic being a single father to these 3 children. He's still messing with Dolce, who is like his homie, lover, friend, babysitter, but he does not see anything with her as far as the future, but she just won't want to hear that. It's like she's okay with it, but then she's not okay with it. But he is straightforward with her. He's honest with her. He lets her know, like, look, Dolce, you cool and all, you the homie, you come through when I need you, but you got to know that I don't see you that way as far as like having a future with you. Ethic, one thing that I did like in this book, he was like, I may mess around with this shade, that shade, or the other, but when it comes to wifey, I want to have a black queen. I want a woman who understands me and my struggles and the things that I go through just as a black man and slash, person. So book 2 was pretty much seeing in where they're at now and adjusting to their norm. There was an incident with Morgan trying to be grown, trying to be fast, hanging out with a girl who's not truly her friend. She put herself in a situation where she got hurt, and then Ethic had to put that old mask on and go handle business. And then something tragic happened when he was trying to handle that, and I'm like, no, Ethic, you are better than that. You're smarter than that. You are Ethic. You don't move sloppy like that. But makes for a good story. So I am committed to that series, and I already have requested to borrow book 2 from Libby. So yeah, that is it. That is all, y'all, for my reading wrap up. As far as my streams, I didn't get a whole lot to watch, or I didn't get a whole lot of watching because I actually started to get into Miss Wiggins, and that book, y'all, I cannot wait to discuss that with y'all. I'm actually working on a reading vlog for Miss Wiggins, and it is a page turner, short chapters, good size font. I love Maggie, like, So far, so good. So far, so good. I'm so glad y'all told me to read that one because Black of the Bear wasn't it either. It wasn't it either. Maybe try that another time. That is another book that I picked up. As I told y'all before, the book was written like in the 1920s, and the writing feels like it, and I just could not get into it. It's a softie enough for now. I will try to pick it up at another time and see if it was just where I was at or if it's just not the book for me. So yeah, so when it comes to my streams, the only thing I really watched this past week was Good Times, and then we took the kids to see Hopper, or the Hoppers, at the movie theater, which y'all, if you have kids, even adults, I think you would enjoy this movie. Me and my husband and my kids, we cracked up so much through this movie. It's one of those movies that have adult humor, not inappropriately, but where a lot of the things we catch that go over the kids' heads. But the Hoppers, or the Hopper, whatever, I'll put it on the screen, was really, really good. So funny. And let me see, I think that was it. Oh, and I've been in my true crime era again. I started back watching Snapped as well, and Buried as well as Buried in the Backyard. I had took a break from true crimes because after I had Eden, I was home. I became a stay-at-home mom / wife, and watching that stuff shortly after having her was giving me a lot of anxiety, to the point where I'm like, I remember messaging my husband, and I was telling him just like how I was feeling scared and nervous. And the good husband that he is, he like a couple of days later had installed a security camera, and then had then signed us up to have actually like monitored security. So that actually helped. But just during that time, as you know, as your body and brain and things are getting back to normal after having a baby, my anxiety stuff was already on 10,000. So watching stuff like that just was not helping. But I'm back on my true crime area just a little bit. Balance is everything. So that's all I watched. I want to say, Hecker. All right, I'm back. So as I was saying, I'm currently reading Mrs. Wiggins. I am on, what chapter? I'm on chapter 18. I have one more page I'm on chapter 19. I have one more page and then I'll be on chapter 20. So this is where we're at. This is what I have to go. This is what I've read so far. Enjoying it, and I hope to be able to finish it this evening or tomorrow. And then on tomorrow, Monday, Miss Eliza and I will be starting our new buddy read, which is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and I cannot wait to jump into that. I haven't had the Abby Jimenez feels in a while, and her books just always make me feel so like how Sunflowers make me feel. They just make me feel light and airy and happy and good feels. Like I said, the right amount of depth and fluff with Abby, and I just love that and can't wait to get into it, y'all. It feels like I'm getting out of this slump. Feels like your girl is back to being a book girly, and I am here for all the feels. Well, that is it. That is all, y'all, for this week's reading wrap up. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you are doing well. If you're in a slump, I hope that it passes soon. What I'll say is, based off my experience, just let it ride. Just ride that wave on out. If you don't feel like reading, just don't read. It is okay to take a break. BookTube will still be here. The books will still be there, and your people will still rock with you whenever you upload that video. Just ride it out. Just ride it out, and it will pass. That wave will pass, and you will feel like yourself again. But just sometimes our body will tell us what we need because we're not always aware. But that's it, y'all. Thank y'all so much for hanging with me, and until next time, don't forget to show yourself some love today.